of our panel and our conversation today, how she made the change. That is amazing. And I am humbled and honored. My name is Maria Luisa Boyce with UPS, and I am humble and honored to be joined by four amazing women entrepreneurs. They don't know how I'm going to introduce them because I know we all have a bio and the story of the companies. But I asked all of them when we were preparing for the conversation today, how would you describe yourself? What are the changes? And I got inspired. And so I'm excited to have the conversation, but we're going to talk about women entrepreneurship, about leadership, about lessons learned, best practices, and hopefully be able to share in this community that we have today the power of believing and making change. So we have Miss Claire Giles from Claire Giles Limited. And Claire, you describe yourself as a designer who's having to juggle many different aspects of business and still make it up every morning. So Claire, welcome to the
Hi.
conversation. We have Sheila, which I love, Sheila, your description, from accountant to tutus. We're going
That's
to
right.
leave it at that. You're going to tell us more about the story. Welcome, Sheila, and thank you so much for being here with us. Emma, I love your description. We have Miss Emma MacDonald from Tartan Blanket Company. Thank you so much and welcome. And Emma told me she was in the fashion industry and saw the dark side. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so right there I fell in love with Emma because I see the dark side and the good side. And now you're focusing on people, planet, and profit. I love it. I love it, and look forward to hearing your story. And Tina, I love Tina Salt from My Clothing. Welcome so much to being here with us. And Tina, when I asked you, you said that you were in the fashion buying and saw many bad things, and now you're one woman band juggling many aspects of the business and learning how to do better every day. Tina, welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being here. So, uh, ladies, I am so excited to be here with you. And when we start our conversation, I want to ask you, each one of you, on give me a short perspective of your story. How did you end up being a businesswoman and a leader? Claire, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to go in my Brady Bunch squares. Claire, go with you.
Okay, well, I've got a greeting card business, which I imagine to be called Claire Giles Limited, but it's actually because I started out as a freelance designer. So really my story is about how my business didn't end up where I thought it was when I started out. I just wanted to sort of like, do freelance art for other people. And then I started to publish my own cards. And my main customer base is like independent shops on the high street, but again, sort of like everything evolves. So we do a lot more online now, a lot more e-commerce, but we do greeting cards in English and Welsh. And I've been going for nearly 20 years now, so must be
That
doing
is
something right.
awesome, Claire. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that. Sheila, share with us tell us your story.
Well, I was a chartered accountant, and I've always done ballet, and I got frustrated that I couldn't buy everything that I wanted to for my dancing and my daughter's dancing in one place. So I decided to set up a shop that was just that, just ballet. Then I started making tutus, and here I am 10 years on.
That is awesome, Sheila. Congratulations. Very exciting. Emma, how about you? Tell us your story.
So you've kind of mentioned a bit, Maria, about I used to work in fashion buying, and although I loved the job, it wasn't necessarily the right ways that I enjoyed working. And so when we set up the Tartan Blanket Co, it was all about forming partnerships with suppliers and creating products that are really sustainable and that give back. So yeah, that's what our focus is on. And we've grown the business over the last 7 years, and we're now stocked in Liberty and Selfridges and Anthropologie and stuff. So it's grown quite a lot in that time. But yeah, it's exciting.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I love what I'm hearing, right? A diversity of businesses in terms of what services can you do. You saw a need and you found out a solution, and you were inspired and motivated to make some changes. I love that. Tina, tell us your story, please.
Hi, so you touched on it as well at the beginning, but I was a fashion buyer for working in the industry for 15 years. I got made redundant in the COVID pandemic. I just found out I was pregnant and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? No one's going to employ a woman who's pregnant, and in the fashion business, it was like, you know, scary times. My daughter asked me to save endangered animals for a new job. And I worked in fast fashion and was like, oh, how am I going to do that? But, you know, not wanting to let her down or be a failure in her mind, I set up May, which stands for Making Animals Important, and we're a sustainable children's clothing brand, and all of our prints are based on endangered animals. And then we're partnered with Flora and Fauna International, which is the UK's oldest conservation charity, and we give part of our profits to them. I started in the pandemic launch. It was our birthday a couple of days ago, so we were officially one. We're in 20 stores in the UK at the moment, so I had a really good first year, and now I'm here with you guys. So
that is awesome, Tina. Happy birthday, first and
Thank
foremost,
you.
for your first year. That is amazing. And I love hearing your stories, right? You were inspired and you wanted to take a risk, follow a cause, and work hard every day. So let's start our conversation. And I think, Claire, let me start with you. There's always the question of hindsight, right? What would you have done differently in your 20 years of experience that you have, that you would have go back to you 20 years ago and say, do this instead of that? What would be that advice that you would give a women entrepreneur on that area?
I think the main thing is learn to listen to your gut. And I don't know if it's a female thing of like having this self-doubt, but you know, you tend to look around and think, oh, what's everyone else doing? And everyone else is so much more successful than me. And actually you kind of get caught up in that, and really just focus what you're doing, focus on your product, focus on who you're selling it to, and really just like try and drown out the noise, because everywhere around you, you've got, I mean, especially now with social media, and you see all of these stories, and you know, everybody seems to be doing so well, but you've got to remember, actually, that's just the best bits that they're posting, and they will sort of like, you know, have their doubts as well. And then you can get caught up in all of these things actually that don't help your business. So look around at what other people are doing, you know, sort of like pick out good ideas, but don't just follow the crowd. You know, there's more than one way to do things, and you know, just work out what works for your business. I think that would be my main thing.
I love it, Claire. And you know what, as we all, as women, we go through this journey, I appreciate your words, because it goes into be kind to yourself, right? And trust your gut. I love that. Sheila, would you like to add anything on that during that advice?
I would agree completely with Claire. Trust your gut. I was sort of expected to go into academics, and I did, went into a successful career, but my gut was telling me I wanted to be creative. And I always thought it would only ever be a hobby. So I wish I'd made the switch earlier and done what I love. I absolutely love doing. It's a joy to go to work.
That is awesome. And you know, it is so interesting, because also as women, we see a lot. I have the honor of leading our women exporter program globally, and sometimes it's that we don't want to take the risk, right? We overthink things, and so are we going to jump on that? But now, you know, it was not a hobby, it was your inspiration, and you wanted to do so. Thank you, Sheila, for that. And Claire, moving to our next question, as in that same topic, we're facing so many challenges right now globally, right? We had the pandemic, we have everything that is going on around us. What inspires you to stay in business, and how do you work in a moment of crisis, right? How do you continue going, and what is that step that you have to take? And I'll invite Emma to share with us her thoughts on that. Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's been the last couple of years have been like a lot of different changing market conditions with the pandemic, and even coming out of that, there's so many things going on in the world. And so I think it's been, for us going through that, it's been a real challenge, but also a massive learning. And I think we've definitely realized that it's about staying true to your purpose that you started the business for, and what was that. But then also thinking about it from the customer's perspective. So what's going on in their world right now? What are they feeling? And adapting maybe your product, your messaging, so that you're really speaking directly to how they're feeling and their needs, while staying true to you. So it's trying to like pivot somewhat, but also keeping focused on who you were when you started the business and what the goal was that you want to get to. So yeah, and I do think that given like, even though it's crazy right now and it can feel a bit daunting starting a business right now, with all the challenges that come up, it also brings up so many opportunities. And we've seen so many new businesses being born out of the pandemic, because it has brought all these opportunities for people to work remotely or go online, or adapt to new products that people want. So yeah, I think there's so much opportunity still when you've got all these challenges happening.
I love it, Emma. Don't forget your purpose, right? Your I call it, don't laugh at me, I call it what moves my cheese. So I don't forget that part. And that's, I think, a good segue. Tina, you just celebrated a 1-year anniversary in the middle of the pandemic. Well, how was that experience? And complementing to what Emma shared with us.
I think, yeah, to be honest, it's quite daunting starting a business in the pandemic. But for me, I was just like, well, I'm at home, I'm pregnant. What else am I going to do? I'm not a person who can just sit around doing nothing. My daughter just started school. So I was like, well, this is my opportunity. And I think for me, I haven't got numbers to compare against, my previous year plus one, etc. Like, when you're in an established business. But for me, I had a really strong year this year. I smashed the numbers that I thought I was going to do. But I think it's quite scary when you're on your own and you're just at home. You've got your husband upstairs, or whoever it might be, and you don't have colleagues and peers to bounce off and be like, is this right? And I think what Claire was saying about don't look at other people, that's kind of, I got sucked up into doing that a lot at the beginning, and was like, oh, this brand's just launched the same time as me and they've got 10,000 followers on social media. And it really started to stress, and I started to spin at some points. And then I was like, what am I doing? Looking at my core values and why have I started this brand? What am I trying to achieve? And sometimes now I still have to go back and look at that and just being flexible and making sure that I can change, because first of all, I was like so fixated on launching a website and was like, right, I've got to get a website. I've got to get it up before the baby's born. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And then as it happened, I was like, well, who am I launching a website to? There's nobody knows me. It's like you just get fixated on these little things. So I think sometimes you just need to take a step back to take a step forward.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love it, Tina. And I love that you're hearing here. Trust your gut, quiet the voices, manage them.
Yeah.
I don't think we can quiet them. We're women. We have all the voices inside our head, but manage them and be able to trust on what you're doing, right? That you're being inspired. I love it. This is fascinating, and it shows us also our resilience, right? Even in hard times, we can make it happen. And let's talk about making it happen and being a leader, a female owned business in 2022, right? We're of course in the month of celebrating the month of International Women's Month. Emma, how do you feel about being a women-led business? What does that mean today?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think like it's important to recognize that there's still like a massive gap in business in general, between gender pay gaps and the number of women entrepreneurs and business leaders. However, it is an exciting time to be actually being able to represent women and the opportunities that are there in the market. And I think thinking back about things that I could have done or have learned over the journey, definitely getting that support. So I've got like a business coach now, and I'm part of a group who are business leaders, and getting that support to give you that confidence to know that you can trust your gut, you can go with what you think. And often I think, Claire, you mentioned about how women can have self-doubt, and I think that can definitely feel a bit scary at times. But again, just getting that support, and often you're just doubting yourself, but actually you're doing the right thing, you're going in the right way, and everyone has challenges and everyone experiences these things, male or female. And I think, so I think it's an exciting time to be a woman in business, and there's a lot more opportunity, but we also still have to strive to try and bridge that gap. And having 3 girls, I'm like very for making sure that their future is much more equal.
That's awesome, Emma. I love it. Claire, share us your wisdom. 20 years. What can you complement of that perspective from Emma?
Well, it's funny because I was giving a lot of thought to this, because, what does it feel like to be a female-led business? And it's all I know to be a female-led business. So, I kind of don't know if I have a particularly different experience from being a man in business.
Yeah.
I think the main difference is sort of like outside, when you meet people, I think people can be very dismissive of women, and also kind of be a bit patronizing as well. So I remember when I sort of like quite early on in my journey, I met a friend for lunch who brought her boss along, her male boss who I'd not met before. And he was chatting, and he was a lovely man, but he sort of said, so what do you do? And I went, I've got a greeting card business. And he said helpfully, so he thought, oh, well, if you want to put a little box in our reception, you could sell cards there. And I was thinking, mate, I've just shipped 40,000 cards to Norway. But, it's that assumption that, oh, look at this girl doing nice little business for pin money. It's like, no, this is a business. I need to make some money so I don't have to go back and work for people like you. So, I don't know. If,
Claire, I love it, right? Because you're a successful business owner that happens to be a woman, right? And to your perspective on that play, and you're a very successful business woman that has moved forward. I love it. I always think on from 2022, if we talk to our grandmothers many years ago, how proud they would be, right? We are leading the way and continuing our life. And life though happens, and I'm gonna turn this to Sheila and Tina, because we think this is to the point that Claire and all of you were mentioning a little bit, right? Work is from 9 to 5 p.m. and you have nothing else to do. If you're a business owner, you are done at certain time. Is that true, Sheila? What has been your experience of being a business owner? Does the work ever stop?
No, which is why you need to really love what you do. I mean, when I used to work for someone else, I had young children and it was difficult. I had 9 to 5. I was able to book holidays, take time off, but I still didn't get the flexibility that I've got running my own business. I mean, it is 24/7 and you need to set yourself boundaries. One of my boundaries is that I don't have my work emails on my phone, so that I have to make a conscious decision to open that laptop and look at the emails. But then when I'm on holiday, I will take the laptop with me. I will carry on working, but it's on my terms. I'm going to take them, I'm going to have a look, and I will only look if I'm going to actually do something and reply. You need to have those boundaries somehow.
I love it. It's 24/7, but set up boundaries, and you have to love what you do. I love that, and I can see it, right, of how hard it is, but you need to learn how to manage that boundary. Tina, you just told you 1 year and your baby, right? How is that going, 9 to 5, or like Sheila, 24/7?
So my business is 1 year, and I also have a 15-month-old baby as well, so it's pretty full on, and a 5-year-old little girl. Some people think I'm a mad woman, but there you go. It's just being focused, and I've worked for fashion brands where I've had to work till you've got to sign off the next day, you've got to be there till 8, 9, 10 plus some occasionally hours at night, and with this, it's been perfect. I mean, for me, it's being flexible. And with a 1-year-old, well, when he was 3 months, I started selling on the website, and I'd got him into a routine, having to put him to bed as soon as he's asleep, bashing out all my emails and just being like crazy in those couple of hours, getting him up, feeding him, and then be like, right, sort him out, be a mum for a couple of hours, put him to bed, because you know they sleep every couple of hours when they're babies, and then it's just there's no time for me. The time for me came to, you know, when he's asleep, and all I wanted to do at night was go to sleep myself. But being super flexible. Now it's great, he goes to a childminder 3 days a week, so I have 3 days of solid work. But then what I tend to do is at 3 o'clock when my children comes home, I mean, I've instructed my daughter to go straight up to her room today. But when my children come home, daughter comes home from school, I then focus on the children and I can be a mum, whereas if I was working in an office, I couldn't do that. So I get to have that strong relationship with my children. Once they're in bed at 7:30, then I start work again until, you know, 9, and then I have my evenings. But I make sure now, I was doing that every night to begin with, but now I have a few nights off where I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it then. So I think it's being, you know, restricted and making sure that you stay focused on your time.
And being flexible, right? You have the inspiration to make it happen, and you adapt and manage that. I think it's important for us, we have learned through these 2 years, to manage our mental health and our physical health, right? To give some time to ourselves too in that part. But thank you for sharing that, Sheila and Tina. It is interesting, that dynamic of managing. Let's move to another inspiration party, and it is about what inspires your customers to buy your products, or what are you seeing in that area? And I saw we had a survey that we did last year on sustainability, asking our consumers online what inspires them to do shopping, and 74% of those consumers said that they will buy if sustainability is an important driver of the business. And I would love to ask you, what are your thoughts about that? Have you seen that, right? Sometimes we see consumers say it one way, but maybe they don't spend it as much. So are you seeing those values? Are you able to share that with your consumers? And maybe Emma, let's start with you, and then I know probably Claire and Tina may have some thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I think nowadays you kind of have to take sustainability into account when you start any business, because I think it's going to be it is such a pivotal part of the business. But I do think as well that sometimes people focus on being perfect, and they're like, oh, I need to do every single thing, like that has to be sustainable every single step. And when you start a business, that's not always possible, because you're working with lots of different people and it's hard to trace it all back. And so I think it's really important to take as many steps as you can and have a list of things that you want to improve or you want to research more. And that's certainly what we did when we started 7 years ago. We worked with different local mills making our blankets and scarves, and then actually focused on traceability and finding partners like our partners in India who take all the landfill textiles and they reweave them into our recycled woolen blankets. But it was kind of that investigation piece that got us further along that journey. And now we've applied for B Corp status, and we factor in sustainability to our packaging, to everything in our offices, just like every step of the road. But that's been like a journey for us to go on. And then also the other thing is we have our positive impact pledge. So we give back 1% for people and 1% for the planet. So we give 2% of all revenues to charity. And I think building that into our business has been really helpful, so that as we grow, so does our impact. But again, it's not about trying to say like, I need to donate X amount on the first year. But if that can grow with you, then you can start small, but have a bigger and bigger impact as you grow. So I think there's lots of different ways, and it's just about thinking about it.
I love it, Emma, because sometimes I love what you're saying, because sometimes we think it has to be an absolute, right? We're going to be sustainable, therefore 100% this, but you really have to do it on a step-by-step, what you can afford, knowing that what is driving your north is to be able to achieve that goal. Claire, any thoughts on your journey on that part?
Well, I think anything environmental, it's not really a choice, you know. It's kind of like it's the way the world is going, and it's not just a case of being the right thing to do, but you know, customers are demanding it. And Emma's so right in saying, you know, it's not about being perfect straight away, so we're just always looking at ways that we can improve. So for instance, all of our cards come individually wrapped, which, you know, protects them on the shop shelves. and they were all plastic bags, and now we use fully compostable bags. But I mean, you know, they're 3 times the price of the plastic version. But I just thought, you know, I can't be going around the supermarket tutting at all the packaging and then being part of the problem myself. So you kind of do that, but then the shops that we sell to really liked that, and they were sort of like saying, look, if a small company can, like, you can do that, you know, why can't the big companies do it as well? But it's just about looking at the little things where you can change. So for instance, you know, we don't use the plastic tape, we use paper tape for our packaging. We don't use bubble wrap. Again, it's recycled paper. And it's just looking at all these little aspects where you can just improve and improve. And the more people that do it, the more available options there are to be greener. But it's important. There's no way of getting away from it, and it affects all of us. So I think, you know, you just, you know, get on board with it and do it. But I do think, you know, not only is it right, it's also a selling point, and customers are demanding it more and more, as you know, as I know that I do as a customer.
Yeah, I love that. And it's baby steps, right? To your point of what can you identify that you can make those changes. And I imagine too, you sharing that stories with your customers, right? Via social media. I know, Tina, if you want to add anything before we move to the rest.
Yeah, it was just well, sustainability is the core of what we do. The brand is all about endangered animals, so it would be a bit of a hypocrite if I was producing those in unsustainable ways. The first thing we did I say we, but you know, it makes it sound better. The first thing I did was research sustainability, because my history is fast fashion, and a lot of my suppliers were not suitable for, you know, that I've worked with. So I worked with GOTS, who are the Global Organic Textile Standard, and they do all the fabrics have to be organic. The processes all get monitored as well, and it's people and all the ethics and the sustainability ways. I think it's really important when you're doing clothing that you do look at getting certified by B Corp, GOTS, various places, accreditation places like that, because there's so much greenwashing that goes on. People say they're using organic cotton, and you know, to people who are buying it, they believe that the word organic, and they're like, oh yeah, that's brilliant, and they think that they're doing something good, but that piece of fabric might have been printed in a way that's pumping loads of different dyes into the drainage system, which can actually be worse than using regular cotton. So it's really important that, you know, you're visible. And I think the more people that go for the certifications, the more people that use the paper packaging rather than the plastic packaging. Yes, it's more expensive, but the more of us who do that, those prices eventually will level out. So I think, yeah,
because I think, and Tina, Claire, and Emma, and Sheila, at the end of the day, I think to Emma's point, you want to sell your product, right? You want to make certain that you're selling your product so you are viable as a business and continue to grow. Are consumers, do you see consumers buying when you, because that is one of the angles why they buy, because you're sustainable. So I see.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the main reason why people buy my products, for sure. I think being a children's brand and it being sustainable, we want to make a better planet for the children, for the next generation. I read in an article today that by 2030, if we don't make drastic action now, the ice caps will melt, like there'll literally be nothing there. So it's, you know, everyone needs to make a change now. It's super, super important. And the more people that shout about it, the better.
And I think Claire and Emma, I see you nodding. I tell you, in the programs that we do in developing countries in other areas, it's more expensive, it's harder. And they do their own type of sustainability and environmental approach. As a company, we're a logistics company. We are very much committed to our sustainability efforts and finding the best and fastest routes that we can sell your products so we use less carbon footprint. That's also part of the commitment, right? Everybody, the community, to work on this. So I'm going to move to your business minds. Let's talk business, because you are business leaders on this piece. And Claire, I'm going to start with you. You have the longest career, right, as a business owner on this part. And share with us, how has been that experience? What do you have to do as a business owner, for the entrepreneurs that are listening to us, if you want to scale up, if you want to grow your business? What were the right ingredients to make it happen?
I think probably one of the biggest mistakes that people get into when they're like thinking, right, I want to set up my own business, it's all about the product, to the extent where you forget, do you know where you're going to sell this? And so you could have the most fantastic product, but if people don't know about it, if you can't get it out there, you know, you are going to fail. And I mean, you can also sort of like see that actually there's a lot of not that great products out there that, you know, make very, very viable businesses. So I would say, you know, kind of like, yes, get your product right, but, you know, really think about who is going to buy this and how you're going to reach them. And so, you know, when it comes to scaling up, it's absolutely about strategy. And it's about looking at the numbers and sort of like, you know, seeing where your sales coming from and how you can increase them. And, you know, it's not always about kind of like going out and finding lots of new customers, because actually that's the hardest thing. It's, you know, maybe how do you get your customers to buy more? You know, if you have sort of like a big customer base and you could just get each one of them just to buy, you know, place one extra order a year, it would be a huge upturn. And that works much better than sort of like, you know, going out and having to find new customers and competing the whole time. So it's just keep focused on where are your sales actually going to come from. And I think that's the most important thing really for me. And, you know, and it's the thing that I don't think you can underestimate how difficult that bit is.
Yeah. No, I love it, Claire. You know, do your homework, right? Do your homework, understand your product, and know your customer. I think those three things that you're mentioning, so that when you scale up, you know, you have a plan of action, right? A roadmap of where you're going. Emma, you wanted to add something on that?
Yeah, I think we've grown quite a lot, and especially over the last few years, and definitely growing the team has been a challenge. So we're now at 45 in our team, and that's been like quite a journey to go on to get the right people and to scale in the right way and get the right people in the right positions as well. And I think, again, it's about having a clear purpose. So you're getting people that are really aligned to your purpose and having clear values. So we found that, again, just making sure that we're really clear on like the values that make us a great company, and then getting people who are really bought into those, so they're part of like your journey and growing the business. And then also like some amazing like books as well have really helped along the way. So like Jim Collins does Good to Great and things, brilliant book about finding the right people and getting them into the right positions. And Scale Up by Fern Harris, I think it is. It's a great book again about just those steps that you need to take, both strategically and with people. But yeah, it kind of if you've got the right strategy and the right people, it's easy, but
yeah, and
challenge.
Thank you, Emma. That is so interesting. So Claire, your consumers, understand your consumers, your product, your market. Emma, be ready to prepare internally, right? And I will add maybe to both of you what you're saying, because we see it also with our small business customers. Manage the inventory, right? Be ready if you're going to scale up. To your point, right? That you have the right production to be able to sell as you scale up, right? On those processes. And I love, Emma, what you're saying about don't forget your values, right? Having common that about your values, that you're not sacrificing that as you're moving up. I love that. And talking about this topic, I'm gonna move to e-commerce, right? E-commerce has been like a changer in many aspects. And I know, Emma and Sheila, we're going to talk about that with both of you, your experience on how has e-commerce, either has it opened opportunities, has it allow you to expand, and how do you manage that interaction? So I don't know, Emma or Sheila, either one of you, Sheila, if you want to go first, and then we'll pass over to Emma.
Well, we started off with as a website. Then we ran out of storage for all of the products, so we ended up having a shop because it was as cheap to rent a shop as it was to rent a warehouse. Then looping back to the scaling up, we then thought, well, we've got one shop, let's get another shop. So we had another, and that seemed to be the thing that we had to do. We had to get bigger, we had to have more and more and more and have a chain, and there was this whole goal. And then I realized that I was actually spending more time managing staff, managing the business away from what I actually started doing, what I wanted to do. So we scaled back down. So it's maybe scaling up might not be where you want to go. So we've gone back down to our core values. And the e-commerce has enabled us to do that, because what we do is so visual. All of the products that we make and we create. We went down the route of unusual photo shoots. So, I mean, this was sort of 10 years ago. We went to some fantastic grade 1 and grade 2 listed buildings and did very unusual photo shoots, rather than a normal product image of somebody wearing a leotard or a tutu against a white background, you know. And that just makes it more engaging, I think.
Yeah, I love it, Sheila. And very interesting. I love what you're saying, right? Sometimes it's not about scaling up, maybe scaling down, or being smarter about it, right? I love having that honest conversation to you as a business person. What makes more sense right now for my business? Emma, what are your thoughts on e-commerce, and what have been those thoughts on that part? And Tina too, I know you also do e-commerce, but Emma, share with us that part.
So yeah, we've always been e-com first. So that's kind of how we've grown and scaled the business. And then we work with our wholesale partners who are amazing at, you know, that having that brand experience and those amazing stores to showcase the brand, while we focus on our e-commerce side of things. And that has allowed us to grow internationally a lot more, which is brilliant, because it's obviously a lot easier to access those markets. And I think the pandemic's actually moved a lot of people online and got them used to shopping online more. However, it's also brought a whole lot more competition as well. And we see the cost of marketing, like online digital marketing, going up. So it brings pros and cons. There's lots of different challenges. But I do think that for the future, it's kind of, you might have an e-commerce strategy and business, and then you might open a store to showcase the brand and have that experience. But not as many businesses now are probably going to be shop first. I think it generally now is more e-com first, and then shop as part of that strategy potentially, which is definitely a shift to what it used to be.
Very interesting. And also thinking about the customer experience, right? If they want to go to the store, it's more about feeling or seeing the product, and then the buying on that piece. Tina, what are your thoughts on the e-commerce part? What have been your experience?
Well, I'm obviously been only one. I find the e-commerce side of things really quite tricky in my first year. Like Emma just said, it's such a crowded marketplace, and just being so, for me, just you know, who knows about May clothing, you know, it's what needle in a haystack. There's so many brands out there. You search for children's clothing brands and it's really hard. And being just me at the moment, I'm at the point where I'm growing organically. I don't have tons of cash to throw at digital marketing, you know, because you need a few grand at least a month to spend at that. Nor do I have the expertise in that digital marketing side of things. So that is an area that I find quite difficult. So it's an area definite of improvement to me. And I was hoping to tap into some of you guys to get some advice from you, but it's knowing where to focus that attention and where you can get the growth from. And yeah, so it's quite hard in the beginning, because, you know, you put on Instagram, I mean, I've got like just 1,000 followers or 1,600 followers or something, and Facebook quite similar. And, you know, it's like the conversion on that is not going to be as high as, you know, putting loads of digital ads out there. So I think you've got to be focused at the beginning, and not, for me, I was like, well, I could put money into the digital ads, but are they going to work? And I need money I need this product to sell. So it's a real chicken and egg scenario for me at the moment. So I think, you know, I've got ways of channels that I'm selling products, so I have to focus on that way for now. And then as that grows, then that was my next stage.
Yeah, I love it. And it is learning your experience, right? Where is the what is your return on investment the higher for you in terms of new customers or sales, right? That they turn into sales. And I love, Tina, what you said, because this was one of my goals today. We are creating a community here amongst us, right? How do we share with us best practices and lessons learned? And I think that is, Tina, to your point, it is the social media and everything is changing and is a lot right now because of the pandemic. Everybody's turning into that, is being very strategic on how do you go and where do you go to those markets. And let me shift a little bit on the conversation about, so you have how do you sell, right? You have the e-commerce, you have your product, your passion, and then is the shipping. I have to ask about shipping. I'm UPS, I know I have to get it into the conversation. And the question, and I'll start Tina with you. How do you choose the right shipping partner, right? Because that is part of your customer journey for your goods to make it right to where you're sending it. How was your experience on that?
For me, shipping was paramount for my business. Being, not having a shop, I can't be getting in my car and delivering it to anyone around the country or world, whoever buys my product, in big boxes to my wholesale customers. Working for various high street brands, I've obviously got experience with other logistics companies, and UPS was always one in my mind that I remember not having as many issues with. I'm not going to say they're issue free, because I think you get issues.
No one is perfect.
Exactly. And then during the lockdown period, on a personal experience, having, I'm not going to lie, we were ordering many things, not being able to go to the shops, or having to get deliveries to the house. And I just remember the UPS guy being super personable. And that for me was key. I'm not going to badmouth other companies, because I still do use other companies as well. But, I had packages just dumped behind the bins, not left in safe places, bad experiences. And I think it's the bad ones that unfortunately stick with you. And then, you also remember the good ones. I had, when I was starting a business, I wrote out to all of the companies, and UPS and another one were some of the first to come back to me. And no, they weren't the cheapest, but the thing for me was UPS do the sustainable carbon neutral shipping option, and that for me is an absolute key part to my business. I thought, I can't be sending products out to customers and then putting them in, trucks polluting, adding carbon footprint. So UPS have that option. And then with me being a small business, I've put a lot of attention to detail with my products. I hand wrap them, they get all put in paper packaging, they get a little handwritten note put inside. And the other thing was, with the packaging, a lot of them make you put your packaging in plastic envelopes, and that for me was a big no-no. Whereas UPS allow you to use your own packaging, and they actually get to your customer. Mine's all brown recycled paper, and they get to your customer in a fit state. Whereas with them not being in plastic, there are risks with that, because obviously it's raining outside. Are they going to get wet and stuff? So touch wood, so far on my journey, it's been a positive experience.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you for sharing that. And definitely, no one is perfect. Things do happen. You want to be with the right shipping partner because of that customer journey, right? Of how they feel on that. And I feel this question is for all of you in here, but I don't know if anyone, Emma or Sheila or Claire, if you want to add up anything about the shipping, how do you choose that part, and how important is that for you?
I think there's for our customers, it's so important for their experience, and so we're really always checking our customer ratings, and we've got thousands of reviews, and we always keep it above 4.9. I think we're at 4.93 or something at the moment. And it's as soon as we potentially partner with the wrong courier for whatever reason, sometimes different partners are overwhelmed at different times, particularly over Christmas, you really see that start to drop off, because that tends to be the number one complaint that we get from our customers, because we can control all the journey, journey up until it's shipped. And then you have to partner with someone, because obviously we're not a shipping company. And so it's at that point that you hand over your trust in your products and your customer experience to somebody else. And so finding that partner that really aligns with the experience that you want to offer your customer, because they control your rating basically from your customer about your brand. So it has such a big impact. So finding that partner is so important. And the other aspect is we've grown hugely internationally. It's been a big part of our growth journey, and being able to do that based in Scotland. So we researched ways of working with potentially like 3PLs in different countries, but we do a lot of value add with embroidery and personalized notes and things in our gift boxes. And so trying to replicate that somewhere else was really hard. Whereas actually when we managed to partner with UPS and like find the right way of partnering so that we could ship really quickly, so the customer is not losing the experience by it being shipped internationally, but then we could also scale and control it so that then when we get to a point where we're like, actually we might need to set up overseas, then we can do that. But for that journey up to that point, we're able to offer the customer the same localized experience, but scale locally and have that control over our brand and what the process is. So that's been huge for us.
I love it. And you know, that is so important. All of you, I hope that you're thinking about exporting. To Emma's point, it does make a difference, right, Emma and Tina, in terms of what you mentioned, that customer experience, and that your product makes it on time is not going to be perfect all the time. With all the real delays that we're seeing in supply chain too in the past year, small businesses have suffered. You have to manage your inventory for December. You have to start now. I feel like in May, right? May and in June, you have to be ready for your December sales. Claire and Sheila, do you want to add anything on this topic?
I was going to say that I think it's sorry.
No, we'll go Claire first and then Sheila.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've got to remember that sort of like your product arriving on someone's doorstep is the first sort of physical impression that you're making on your customer sometimes. So it's really important that it arrives in a good condition. And also, you know, especially with the rise of e-commerce, people are expecting more and more and more, you know, so they don't want to have to wait for a parcel. And so 24-hour delivery has to mean 24-hour delivery. And so I think I do like UPS's reliability. And I also like the branding, you know, the fact that the drivers are all in the smart brown uniform with the really, you know, well logoed badge. So there's that kind of like trust as well. You know, it's like, you know that it's a delivery driver, whereas a lot of other companies seem to kind of use, you know, white vans when it goes out, and it loses a bit of the professionalism, I kind of think. And then also kind of like on a more personal note, like every single driver that we've had, because, you know, you're getting the same guy every day, day in, day out. So you kind of, you know, you get to know these people. You know, I've celebrated with one of the drivers because he just paid off his mortgage finally, you know, when he's just before he retired, and, you know, you kind of like get to know that level of detail, and actually that's nice. And the fact that, you know, if they come too early and you've got something that's, you know, that is not quite made the delivery, we have the drivers come back at the end of their shift, which is just, you know, fantastic. And having that relationship where you can go, oh, actually, I'm not quite ready, can you come back in a bit? And, you know, the fact that happens is fantastic.
Yeah, Claire, I love that. I tell you that for me, our drivers are our inspiration worldwide, and they never stopped during the pandemic. They continued, and we have stories to tell about that. But thank you for mentioning that, Claire, that makes a difference, right? That you have that trust. Sheila, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And we're the same as Tina. We used recycled paper, and it was very important that we used somebody, you know, that had the environment at the forefront of their business plan. But we had lots of parcels with previous shippers that just seemed, it felt like we were parceling them up and taking all the care, creating the garments, and then just pushing them out the door and hoping that they'd get there. Which just, it was horrendous over the Christmas period. This was, so part of what we do is hire costumes, so it's very, very timely. You know, if somebody's going to be on stage on Saturday, it arriving on Monday is no good, and oh, sorry, we'll refund you, just doesn't cut it. You know, they've got to be on time, and UPS have been really, really good at that.
Thank you, guys. And we promise we did not ask them to say that for the listener. No, but thank you. And I do agree with all of you that customer journey is very important, right? It is, I think, Claire, to your point, is the first interaction that your customer is going to have with you is that parcel arriving on time. And I do encourage all of you to export. There is such a great opportunity right now. And definitely, I think to Emma's point, having the right partner that knows where you're going, what country you're going to is very important on that area. Okay, so my last question, this is for all of you. I know, I think we wrote it on this part, but I call it your words of wisdom. What are your words of wisdom that you want to share with the entrepreneurs that are going to be listening to us on the recording, that are here with us right now? And so I'm going to start, Claire. I'm going to start how we started. Claire, what are your words of wisdom for our women entrepreneurs?
I would say learn to delegate. I think, you can't do everything yourself. So, whether it's building a team internally or using external companies, like say, for instance, get a payroll company. If you're a small business, you're not going to be able to get someone in HR, but you can, there are other ways of doing things. And so delegate what you can, but know what you have to keep hold of yourself. You need to keep in control.
I love it, Claire. Thank you so much. And Tina, I can see Tina's face when you say learn to delegate, and Tina's going to say it's only me. But I love what you're saying. There's a lot of services outside, right, that can help small businesses. Sheila, what are your words of wisdom?
I would say make sure you love what you do, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it.
I love it. Yes, that is awesome. And I think I will take a wisdom from you of being intentional and managing your own schedule so you take care of yourself. I love that you shared earlier, right? And I think that's love what you do and be intentional about how you manage your personal space and time. Love it, Sheila. Thank you. Emma, words of wisdom.
I think it's important, especially when you're starting up, not to focus on doing something perfectly, but just trying things, testing them, and then investing time and money when you know that you're getting traction and that thing's working, rather than waiting until it's perfect to launch it or to push it to the next level. So yeah, just a lot of trying, testing before investing.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sheila. That makes so much sense, right? Test the waters. I call it piloting. I love piloting. Let's pilot this. Does it work? And then you move and invest more or not. My dear Tina, words of wisdom.
Well, I read a book which was recommended to me from a friend years ago, and I should pick it up again. Actually, I should have before I started the business, but it's called Fear the Fear and Do It Anyway. I'm not sure if any of you have read it, but it's all about not listening to the inner chatterbox. I think Claire touched on this earlier about don't listen to the self-doubts. There's been so many opportunities where I've wanted to start my own business, but I'm like, what if it doesn't work? What if it does? And my friend, when I got made redundant, said to me, this is the best thing to ever happen to you. I was like, oh, cheers. And it's like, just go with it and just fear the fear, but do it anyway. I think it's a really good, strapline.
I love it. I love it. Ladies, what an honor. It has been so awesome to be able to speak with all of you. I do agree so much about the voices. Can I share my words of wisdom with you? I'm going to share them with you. Is for me, the most important day of my life was when I realized that I was not Wonder Woman or Superwoman. And I had in my mind this image that I have to be the best professional, the best mom, the best this and the best that. And I was driving myself to the ground. And I had my voices, I have my doubts, I have all the things that you're sharing here. And I realized I had to be kind and give grace to myself. And there are going to be some weeks that are going to be awesome and I'm going to be all about work, and other weeks that I'm all about my family, and my health became very important. I have a special needs child, and he has inspired me to take life from that perspective, right? So when I'm thinking it's the end of the world and all crazy, I stop myself, breathe, remind myself that I'm not Wonder Woman, and say, okay, my top 2 priorities: health, yes, family, yes, okay, the rest will happen. And so those are my words of wisdom on sharing. I want to thank you all. From UPS, I'm excited. This event today is marking our launch of our Women Exporter program that we're going to do in the UK. And we wanted to do it inspired by these amazing women entrepreneurs. And stay tuned, because we're going to be providing you the landing page. We're going to be doing training modules at no cost to any women entrepreneur. You don't have to work with UPS. Just get the information. We want to empower you with knowledge, with information, so you can make the best decisions as an entrepreneur. And we believe in making it happen. We're doing it around the world. So I'm excited that we're launching it here in the UK. To my dear Claire, Sheila, Emma, and Tina, continue inspiring. You are part of the community. I love it. And we're not alone, right? We can learn and leverage from each other. I hope that I can buy your products. I live in the United States. Can I buy your products? Can I? Oh, I am gonna buy each one of you the products. Let's see how it arrives. I will send you a picture when it gets here. So hopefully UPS delivers well, if it is UPS, but we'll make it happen. And with this, I wanna say thank you to all the participants, to those that are listening afterwards. I made the first V with all of you, very strong. I'm a Star Wars fan, as I mentioned earlier. And to my entrepreneurs, thank you so much for joining us today. We're very honored and humbled to be able to work with you. So thank you and have a great day. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ciao.